Well, Pennsylvania gets a C when it comes to human rights issues within the LGBTQ plus community. Take a look at this. Franklin and Marshall College Global Parameters asked more than 14,000 people in the U.S. and more than 167,000 people around the world 6 questions that measured safety, fear of violence, acceptance, and discrimination. And overall, Pennsylvania is in the middle with that C, but when asked how accepted they felt, PA got a D. The state also got a D when it comes to individuals who experienced violence in the last year, and the survey was conducted in 2022. Here to take a closer look at those findings, Dr. Susan Dicklich Nelson. She is a professor at F&M and the founder of the Global Parameters LGBTQI Perception Index. Doctor, thank you very much. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
nice
thank you. Thank you for being here. So talk a little bit about first, what stood out to you when you looked at that survey?
Well, again, the U.S. Only ranked 31st out of 136 countries when it came to lived human rights reality for LGBTQ plus people. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we think the United States is being a leader in terms of human rights, and it isn't when it comes to LGBTQ plus human rights.
So let's take a closer look at the Susquehanna Valley. Mm-hmm. When you looked at folks in the queer community here, right in our backyard, how did they feel?
Well, again, it depends based on their identity. Trans women and trans men basically felt very fearful. They didn't feel very safe, and they felt very discriminated. But in general, in the Susquehanna Valley, actually people felt less discriminated as a group in terms of LGBTQ+.
Yeah, well, speaking of discrimination, because you said the survey took a look at violence and discrimination here in the Susquehanna Valley, do folks feel safe here?
More safe than they do in other places in Pennsylvania and the United States in general, but by not by a lot.
Yes. Not by a lot. So that was in comparison to other areas in the state.
In the United States, and globally, obviously, much safer than they do in places like Uganda or Nigeria or Ghana.
So what are the trends you are seeing here in the Susquehanna Valley, but just throughout Pennsylvania, when you look at today from 10 years ago?
Well, there has been progress, obviously, overall in the United States. We started out very poorly, and we've progressed to a B, actually, right now in terms of the global barometers. But there's a long way to go. There's a lot of legislation, for example, the Fairness Act that needs to be passed in Senate, in Congress overall. We need to think about passing the Equality Act, which would protect LGBTQ plus individuals from discrimination. Mm-hmm.
When you look at this also too with younger people, do these issues vary from younger people to older people? What is that nuance when it comes to age?
Yes, that's a great question, actually. Younger LGBTQ plus people feel less safe. They feel more fearful. They feel more discriminated than some of the older LGBTQ plus people. And that, again, could be given the history or the expectation that a lot of younger people feel that this shouldn't be happening within their country.
Yeah, and so I want to take a look at this because based on this survey, it says PA is the only state in the Northeast that lacks a law that explicitly protects LGBTQ plus people from discrimination. So is that of the point of focus in the state legislature, or will we need to look at moving forward?
Yes, absolutely. We need to pass the Fairness Act. We need to talk to our representatives to pass the Fairness Act, which is sitting in the Senate right now, to protect LGBTQ plus people from workplace discrimination, from housing discrimination and the like.
Yeah, what do you want people to know if they're watching this interview, and if they take anything from this, what do you want them to take from it? What do you want people to know about this issue?
It's important for people to educate themselves on this issue and not just react to the anti-LGBT plus rhetoric that's going on right now within the politics. Educate yourself. If you see something, speak about it, be positive, try and be an ally. There are a lot of young people in particular who don't know how they feel about where they belong in the United States because of their queer status. So think about that and educate yourself and advocate for them.
Yeah, Dr. Susan, thank you so much for coming in and talking about this, this topic here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate it.